Alan Sewing Cat. Today I'm going to show you how to make this new version of our gathered neck tunic. You can also make it as a little top, so you can do the longer tunic length that I'm wearing, or you can make it as a little top. It's a very simple one to do, and it will be available to purchase from Alan Sewing Cat from July 2018. So just go to our website, which is www.owlandsewingcat.com. Do subscribe to our mailing list and our YouTube channel, because then you can get all the updates as well as to when these are available, especially we've got special offers on as well. So today I'm going to show you how to make this, so come on in, I'll show you how. So what you need to do is cut all your pieces out using the pattern provided, and also in our pattern it will give you the layout showing you how to cut that out. You'll see you've got two main panels, a front panel which is going to be our shorter one, and a back panel which is slightly longer, and then you're also going to have a pair of sleeves. So do follow the instructions, make sure you cut them as a pair because they're asymmetrical, and we'll use those a bit later on. For the moment we're just going to look at our main panels. What I've done is laid our back panel face up, so the right side of our fabric is facing upwards, and on top I've put our front panel laying face down. You can double check that by looking at the nips that you've got on the side here. So on the back we've got two, and on the front we're going to have one here. We're going to line up these two edges. And then I'm going to put some pins all the way down. Because this top is designed to be made in this lovely floaty viscose fabric, it doesn't mean it's going to move quite a bit. So the best thing to do is just put plenty of pins. Always pin one end first, then the other end, and then we can move the fabric so that all the edges are lined up. We just want these two raw edges together, so just move it so it is together, and just put a few more pins than you normally would if you're sewing with cotton. It's going to move, but then that makes it a nice floaty top, which is what we want. So just a few pins to hold it in place. I'm going to put one more in the middle there, like that. And then I'm going to repeat the same on the other side here. So we'll need to move the fabric because the front rather is bigger. So we're just going to move that so it's in line. It doesn't matter that there's excess fabric on the front, we're going to need that later on for fit. So I'm going to do the same thing here, put one pin down one end, and then repeat the same down the other end. And I'm going to fill the pins in the middle now for you. So now we've pinned both sides, I'm going to stitch down these long sides here. So I'm going to go forward just a few stitches, and then I'm going to reverse back just to lock the stitches in, and then just stitching all the way down. Make sure you're using the correct seam allowance as shown on your pattern instruction, and we're going to stitch all the way down to the bottom edge. I'm stitching over the pins, and this machine doesn't mind that at all. If you've got a more basic machine, you might need to take the pins out all the way down to the end, and then we're going to do that forwards and backwards to lock the stitching in, and we're going to repeat exactly the same on the other side. We're now going to neaten the seams, so I'm going to use this overlocking stitch on here. When we select that stitch, it tells me on there I want foot G, which is the foot that I've changed to on my machine. If you've got this foot, it's really handy, and you can just keep the edge of your fabric running through the edge of the foot. And this is just going to neaten that seam all the way down the edge, a bit like using an overlocker. If you've got an overlocker at home, you can obviously use that for this project too. That will do the same thing, and just neaten all those edges. I'm just going to show you a little bit here. Hopefully you can see there, and that's just neaten that edge. If you haven't got this stitch, you can still use the traditional methods of zigzag stitch, or you could cut it with pinking shears. So we're going to neaten all the edges. So the two that we've just stitched, I'm going to do that neaten stitch on. So we're now going to take our two sleeve pieces. So you have these as a pair. So one will be the left sleeve and one will be the right sleeve. Work on them individually. Take your first sleeve, fold it in half so the right sides of your fabric are facing each other, and we're lining up the two small side seams, so just those little pieces here that are straight. This is going to be your underarm seam. So I'm going to line those two small edges up, put a pin through that, like that, and then the rest will be remaining like this. And I'm just going to stitch across just that small short end here. So do that with a straight stitch, start at the beginning, forwards and backwards just like usual, so knot it in, come to the end, forwards and backwards again. And then what you'll need to do then is to neaten that as well. So you can do that overlocking stitch or a zigzag stitch, whichever you prefer, or an overlocking machine, and then that gives you your circular sleeve like that. And then repeat exactly the same on the other sleeve. So you have two sleeves, just a small seam down here, and that'll be neatly overlocked as well. So when you've stitched your sleeve, you'll notice like this, one side is higher than the other. That's right, because the back is going to be higher than the front. We want to turn this sleeve so the right sides are facing out, like that, and then we're going to put this into place on our top. So this is our armhole here. We're going to open that, and I'm going to line up the underarm seam of our sleeve with the side seam of our top, and just put a pin to hold that exactly on the point of that seam. And then we're going to line up these bits. Now you've got the snips to help guide you, so you can go in like that, line up those snips. So you've got double snips here and double snips there. This is the back of the top. You need to make sure that you've got your sleeve in the right way round. Okay, it would be easy to put the wrong sleeve on the wrong side, but make sure you've got the 2 double notches lining up. I'm going to put a couple of pins because that's slipping. If you have, then just swap the sleeve around and pull it into the other side, the other armhole, and it will fit in. So I'm going to pin that all the way around like that to hold that in. Then we've got our side seam that we've already pinned, and then I'm going to continue round the other side and pin right up to the top. If your sleeve was in the wrong side, you'd notice one side is sticking out much higher. So then you know that you need to take that sleeve out and pop it in the other side. So again, line up the notches on this side, put some pins, and then we're going to stitch around. So that's our sleeve gone in here, and this is our armhole here. We're just going to stitch from the top, that straight edge, along here, over that seam and back up, and stopping when we get to the top straight edge here. So we're going to do that one. Then we'll do exactly the same on the other side, and then we need to neaten it just like before with the overlocking stitch or an overlocking machine or zigzag. Okay, so I've now put the sleeves in and I've turned it so the right sides are facing out. I know it looks really big around the neck, but don't worry, it's all going to be gathered in. What we want to do now is to put some bias binding, which is going to form a channel that we're going to thread the elastic through. So you need to find your centre back seam on your top. So I've got it marked here. That's our centre back. And then I'm going to put the bias binding on. Now what we want to do is to open the bias binding out with one edge here. And I'm going to fold the end in so we get a neat finish. I'm going to start where the pin is. And what we need to do is to keep all our raw edges together. So the raw edge of our bias binding together with the raw edge of our fabric. Always keeping that folded bit unfolded just on that one side. And we're going to pin all the way around the whole thing, and then we're going to stitch a line in the middle. I'm going to do some pinning, and then we'll come back and show you how to overlap at the end. Pin this all the way around the neck, and we've come back. We've got the beginning bit was folded over to give us a neat edge, and I'm just going to overlap it by 1 centimetre, and then I'm going to cut any excess binding you may have off. So we're just going to cut that off there in a straight line. And that end can be just left like that as a raw edge because it will be enclosed. I'm going to put 1 pin in it just to hold it in place. So what we're going to do now is stitch all the way around in that folded edge. So we're trying to get the needle to go into the folded edge of the bias binding, and we're going to stitch all the way around the whole neckline, going back to the beginning and overlapping your stitching. So just make sure that we're going in that little crease line that's there, and stop when you get to the end. So we've stitched along here. I've done it in contrast thread so you can see it, and we now need to fold the binding onto the wrong side. On this particular top, we're using a wider width binding. If you're buying this as a kit from us, you will have the narrow one, which will give you a slightly neater finish. But to show you how to do it, if you've got the wider one, you're going to fold it in half and in half again onto the wrong side. So we're going to encase that in. We're going to fold it like that and like that. What you want to do is stitch along this bottom edge here. So always allow just that you want to be able to see just a small piece of your main fabric, because that way we can ensure that it's not showing on the right side. All we want is one neat line on the right side of our fabric here. We don't want any of the cream binding to show like that. So to avoid it, say fold it under and under again. Roll it so you've got just a couple of millimetres here, and we're going to do a line of stitching along the bottom here all the way around, but do leave a 1 inch opening on the centre back neck so that we can thread the elastic through, because this will then form a nice channel for our elastic to sit in. So what we're doing now is stitching along to hold that binding in place nice and closely to the edge all the way down here, and I'm going to stop when I get back to the beginning here, just leaving like 1 inch so that we can thread the elastic through, because this is going to form our channel. So I'm going to do a little forwards and backwards stitch to lock that in. So we've stitched all the way along this close edge here. So I've attached a safety pin to the end of my elastic. The pattern will show you the exact measurement sizes, and that's the important thing. But do leave it a bit longer if you like, and then you can try it on yourself and see, make sure that it's the correct fit for you. So with the elastic threaded on the safety pin, what we can then do is thread it all the way through. So just push it so your fabric gathers up and pull. So you keep pushing and pulling. Might need a little bit of jigging around when you get to your seam, because we need to make sure that we're going in front of the seam allowance to get that pin all the way through. And it's gone past the seam allowance. So we're going to go all the way around the whole thing, threading it through. Make sure you don't lose the ends. The best thing to do to avoid that is just to take it and pin it onto your fabric and then you know it's going to stay in place, otherwise you'll be chasing it around like that. So I'm going to thread this all the way through and then back to the beginning bit. Next bit to do is to overlap the ends of your elastic, and then I'm going to stitch through the centre there. So I'm going to pull that through so I've got a bit more space, and put a pin to hold it and stitch those ends together. Before you do this, do just try it on and just check that you're happy with the amount of elastic that you've got, because obviously different sizes are going to want a different amount of elastic. We've put an average size in there. So I'm going to then just stitch those ends. I'm going to go forwards and backwards over the ends of the elastic quite a few times, just to make sure that that elastic doesn't break, because otherwise you'll be re-threading it all the way through. So I'm going to do it a few times, and I'm going to cut that off there. Okay, oops. I've got a knot underneath, which I'm just going to cut off. And I'm going to pull that through like that. And then we can stitch up this little gap here on the sewing machine. So just pull that through, just like that. Get your stitching to join up, and I'm just going to go forwards and backwards and all the way along that end. And this join will all be on the centre back neck. There we go. And then pull your top to even out the elastic. So just spend a few minutes just evening that through to make sure that the elastic is nice and even. And make it all the way around the top. So now we've done the neck, the final stage is to do the hemming on the top. It's worth trying it on just to check the length. In the pattern, the new one that's going to be released, which will be in July 2018, is going to have two different lengths. So you've got the longer tunic length, or you've got the shorter length. But you can obviously change that as well. So if you cut it long, try it on and see what you feel. So to hem the bottom when you're happy with it, what you need to do is to fold the bottom edge under by 1 centimetre and press it, and then under again by a further centimetre and press that again. So when you're trying it on, do remember you need to allow 2 centimetres for your hem. And then we're going to machine all the way around the bottom edge. So we're just folding it under once and under again. And always start your hemming on your back, just so you haven't got that join on the front. So we're going to do this with a straight stitch. Just going to change the setting slightly, so fold it under again, making sure you've got a nice straight line. I'm just going to go forwards and backwards and lock that in all the way around the bottom edge. So when you finish doing your hem on the bottom, you then just need to do the same around the sleeves. These are smaller areas here, but do it exactly the same way. Fold it under a centimetre again, press that and machine it all the way around, and then your lovely top is finished. Do remember the higher neck goes towards the back, and the lower scoop goes towards the front. You can always put a little label in the back or bow or something so that you can easily see which way it goes round. I hope you love making your tops. The pattern will be available from www.owlandsewingcat.com from July, and it will also be demonstrated on Create and Craft TV as well for you to see in our July show. So have fun making your top. We've got lots more videos on YouTube. We've got some there already, and we've got lots more in the process. So do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which again is Owl and Sewing Cat, and go onto our Facebook page, sign up to be a subscriber, and then we can keep you informed by email. All details on our club membership, So Little Secret, and our offers and sales as they come up. Thank you very much.